Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Makeup and Movie Monday. I hope you're doing very well. So today I'm here to not talk about a specific film but talk about franchises. The reason that I wanted to kind of talk about it is kind of based on a film slash franchise that I'm going to be talking about later on in the video, but I just kind of wanted to talk about just how important franchises are to film. And how like a fan base can really become like obsessed with a franchise, and just how I guess it kind of has been helping cinema continue, even though a lot of franchises these days are just based on comic books and books itself. So yeah, as per usual in the Makeup and Movie Monday, I'll be putting on a full face of makeup and I'll be talking about a specific topic. Obviously normally I talk about films, but today is going to be about my favourite franchises and just a mixture of really everything else. So yeah, let's get on with it. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this basically is because one of my favourite franchises, The Godfather, is kind of making a slight comeback, which is a bit weird. Thankfully not a remake just yet, thankfully, because we don't want one of those in my opinion. But number 3, because there were 3 movies altogether, and the third one is known to be not very good in my opinion. I absolutely hate it. I think it's just a terrible film, but Francis Ford Coppola, who directed the movie, who is one of my favourite directors in this whole universe, he is re-releasing number 3, but it's been edited to have a different ending and just a couple of other scenes as well, essentially to make it a better film. And I wanted to kind of, it's influenced me to talk about franchises because movies are important to, like, franchises are important to the movie industry. And I guess my favourite franchise I ever kind of came across was the Star Wars universe. I've grown up being like a geek my whole life. Like my dad, it's my dad's fault basically. Like he is a massive geek before I was even born. And watching Star Wars and realising that it is a franchise, realising that it is a whole universe in itself, for me that was like an eye-opener, because you're not just watching one film, you're watching a whole collection of movies, and the whole storyline is kind of prolonged. And obviously I grew up like watching 1, 2 and 3, which is obviously like the Phantom Menace onwards, but then when I was really little I watched what is known as 4, 5 and 6, because obviously if you're looking at it as a whole universe, that's what they're numbered at, because that's just the way it is. But looking at it as a franchise, oh my dear God, honestly, when I was looking up like the rank, not the ranking, but like the amounts of that franchises have made, Star Wars comes second to Marvel, and I'm going to talk about Marvel next obviously, but I just was completely shocked at Star Wars not being number 1, because it has been essentially around a little bit longer than the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise, but obviously Marvel Comics have been around since the 60s, so or even maybe before that. But looking at Star Wars as a franchise, obviously when it got bought by Disney, that's when it kind of shot up way more. Disney obviously bought from George Lucas for I think it was like, God, you know what, I should have actually looked it up, but it was a shit ton of money. Like, that man, he doesn't have to work ever again. Obviously, well, when he made Star Wars, he never had to work ever again, but unfortunately he made 1, 2 and 3. We're not going to go into that. But I think Star Wars as a franchise is just insane. Like, obviously now we have The Mandalorian, and then we have all the like cartoons and side TV shows. Like on the Disney Channel, you've got the new like Lego holiday special, which is completely crazy, because obviously the holiday special is known to be, well, the original holiday special is known to be like one of the worst things in Star Wars history. But the fact that they've remade it, I don't think they've remade the actual thing, but obviously they've made it based on a Lego concept, and there's a Lego game coming out very soon, which I can't wait to get because I played them on DS when I was really young and they were so much fun. But yeah, Star Wars is definitely like my favourite franchise for sure, because yeah, I'm a massive Star Wars fan in case I haven't mentioned it. But then when you look at the bigger franchises, like, oh my god, when you look at the Marvel universe, it just is non-stop. It's literally just, it's crazy. I remember when Iron Man came out, and obviously everyone was just like, oh my god, this is like the first proper kind of high-end Marvel film, because obviously before then we had a Captain America like film, then we've had like a Fantastic Four one, but I mean not the Chris Evans one, as in like the really bad ones that I haven't seen, but they look quite fun. And actually, yeah, thinking that the Fantastic Four ones had come out before the one with Chris Evans, but they were just not, you know, they just weren't what the Marvel universe is now. And as soon as Iron Man came out, we knew that it was going to be something just amazing and special. And I think as a franchise, it's come such a long way, because obviously you have the comics, and then you have the now movies, you've got the TV shows, you've got Disney Plus now, because obviously Marvel was bought by Disney. Disney is taken over the world basically, and it's just insane as a franchise that every movie essentially has made millions and millions of dollars. And now looking at the kind of end of, I mean the franchise is not end, because obviously they're going to be coming out with the next phase. Obviously you've got the Wanda and Vision TV show, you've even got, what else is coming out? There's like the Black Widow movie that's come out, but obviously it's been delayed because of the COVID, beyond everyone's control obviously. But it's just an ongoing situation. Everywhere you go, there's Iron Man, Captain America stuff. And especially, well, it's weird, when I was younger and going into the Disney store, I would obviously never see any Marvel, and now it's taken over the whole Disney store, which I guess it's just fine. You know, Disney itself is probably the most profitable franchise ever. So if you know that Disney's going to buy something, you know it's going to have a franchise that will be continuing for many years, because obviously that franchise has made so many more fans. Like back in the day, liking comics was not cool. It's strange how, because when I used to work in a comic shop, people would come and go, ugh, comics, like what the hell, and this place is shit, who reads comics? Because the comics was associated with being a loser and being alone and being, you know, not having any friends. So you would have to resort to comics and playing board games and stuff. And now it's cool because it's, you know, it's a film and there's a whole crazy franchise. There's people who would never have touched a comic, but now they absolutely love it because it's played by one of their favourite actors, or Robert Downey Jr. is such a cocky person, so he is truly Iron Man. I mean, like, that's not who he is. It's obviously the persona of the character, but it is sometimes the actors that make the film. And I'm not obviously just pointing him out as a person, but obviously he was the main person in like this franchise to get everything going, because it was him as an actor who brought the fans. Because obviously back in the 90s he was he was not having the best time in the 80s and 90s, because he was like going to prison and, you know, doing this and that. Obviously I'm not here to talk about his life, but the franchise was kind of starting up because of his comeback. And then when you think about Marvel as itself, it is definitely now the biggest franchise. And then looking at something like DC, like I like DC comics. Like, I absolutely adore the Batman comics and, you know, just everything else associated with DC. Some of my favorite DC comics are you know, like Justice League and, you know, just Batman ones. But as the movie franchise, for me personally, I am not the biggest fan of that franchise. Honestly, some of those movies just do not work for me. Like that Suicide Squad movie, I absolutely fucking hated it. But it has such a big following, and the franchise itself is getting bigger, but in my opinion, I don't think it's as strong as the Marvel Universe. Marvel definitely kicked things off for like the comic nerd, basically, you know, like the nerd world. And DC are trying its best. Honestly, they've got some really good movies. Like Shazam is a great film. I watched it and I was like, this is actually a lot of fun. And then when you see, I don't know, the Batman versus Superman, pretty bad in my opinion. The Justice League movie is pretty bad, obviously, but it has a fantastic and big franchise. It's continuously making money, and obviously when it comes to DC, you've got TV shows, and like Marvel as well, obviously they don't have their own kind of channel yet. So obviously Disney have like Disney Plus, so therefore all their fans are going to be watching the TV shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and, you know, the old school comic, like the cartoons. But DC don't have that yet, so they're probably coming up with something to make the franchise just even bigger, even though, you know, their movies are, you know, the Batman, like the Robert Pattinson film. I'm really excited to watch that because I think Robert Pattinson's okay. He does some great like indie movies. Aside from all the Twilight fans is not for me, but he did really well, like coming out of just changing his whole kind of persona from not being Edward Cullen. And then what else is coming out? The Suicide Squad movie, I'm not feeling it. I do like James Gunn, but I can't stand the Suicide Squad movie. I think it's fucking terrible. But as a franchise, it's going to be big, you know. They're going to have the side movies, like, you know, there was the Birds of Prey movie, which I haven't seen. I heard okay things about it. I'm not having sleepless nights because I haven't seen it. But yeah, so that's another franchise that I think is getting there. Then when you look at kind of the non-comic book kind of ones, you've got ones like Lord of the Rings, which I grew up watching. Obviously the Hobbit movies, fantastic, because, you know, obviously the book came out first, like the Hobbit came out, and then you had Lord of the Rings, and then the movies, oh my god, like those movies are fantastic as a franchise. Even today you've still got those hardcore fans which are talking about them, and I really hope they don't remake them one day, because obviously when it came out first, it was there's like an animated movie that they had, which is pretty cool. I remember watching that a few years ago with my dad, and you know, when the Hobbit movies came out, for me they weren't amazing, but they were still quite fun. It's just to keep the franchise going, basically. Other franchises I really enjoy. I enjoy the Harry Potter movies. I really like them. I've listened to the audiobooks by Stephen Fry. I think he's amazing. My friend gave them to me on like an MP3, so I just listened to them so much. I really like them. Oh god, there's just so many, like, endless franchises, and especially when it comes to Harry Potter as well. Like, I don't think anything is going to top Harry Potter in that aspect of it being just in a world of its own. Yeah, the books, like, I remember when the first book came out, everyone was losing their shit. Everyone was like, what is this amazing book? And it's like, has a book never come out before? Like, this is like really that big. But I understand the whole franchise around it, and obviously JK Rowling, I don't know how much she's involved in anymore, obviously, apart from her personal beliefs, which I do not agree with, but obviously that's a different situation. Obviously she's associated with Harry Potter, but she's not associated kind of like, I mean, her fans can obviously give or take her, because there are a lot of people who have appreciated Harry Potter because of how different he is, and how different it is to be different in the sense of being a witch or a wizard. and obviously J.K. Rowling with her whole comments, kind of bringing it down and just ruining it for some people. I really enjoyed the movies. I enjoy the side films, the one with that guy. Wow, I'm such a film fan. I love it. I will remember it as soon as I stop talking about it. But I really like the Gringotts. Oh my god, what's it called? Let me Google it, 1 second. It was the Fantastic Beasts movies. So I completely forgot. I'm so sorry. It's just when I'm filming, sometimes I completely forget what I want to say. But yes, the Fantastic Beasts movies, I did quite enjoy them. It took me a while to watch them because I didn't go and see them in the cinema and I wasn't sure about the books and stuff. But those are really fun. And again, expanding a franchise, because those were actually mini stories that had come out and that they've made them into like full-blown films. But yeah, again, Harry Potter, you look at it as a franchise, and then it's got, you know, Harry Potter has its own kind of like Warner Brothers Studios in London, not in London, but in the UK. And then when you go to Universal Studios, it has its own kind of area. I was about to say planet, but that's not the word. It has its own kind of, you know, its own section. And obviously that is a massive franchise, and you know, people from around the world are just obsessed with Harry Potter. It's not even just people who are in the UK. This is like a worldwide obsession. And obviously it's regarding of, you know, the person who created it, their kind of their feelings towards certain things won't affect it, obviously, because it's been around for such a long time. And it won't really die. But yeah, Harry Potter is definitely a franchise after so many years. It's going to continue to grow because there's people who are discovering it for the first time, reading the books for the first time. They'll be handing it down to their children and so on. So going back to initially why I wanted to make this video, which is because of the Godfather franchise. And it is a franchise. Like, I was thinking long and hard, and I'm like, is this movie, is it a franchise? And it is, because when you look at everything that's connected to it, it came out as a book first, and then the first movie, obviously, and then the ongoing, and then there's so many things that have come out around it. There's been a game, for God's sake, which I find very strange. I think it was a PlayStation 2 game, which is very interesting because, you know, when you're playing it, you play as kind of like a wannabe gangster, I think, or you play as the Don, which is so strange. But initially what I meant to kind of talk about is the fact that after so many years, the fact that Francis Ford Coppola has decided to kind of make amends on this movie, because it did not get very good reviews when it came out. And I wonder if it was like peer pressure or if it was just him as a director wanting to improve his film. But I am excited to watch it because it is one of my favourite franchises ever. Honestly, like the first one, it's in my top 5 favourite movies. Before lockdown, I went to see it at the BFI, and I've seen it millions and millions of times, but literally when I watched it for the first time on the big screen, I just got emotional because I was just like, I love this film so much. And honestly, it's just for me, it's not what you would call the big franchise. Obviously it has made so much money because it's such a big kind of thing in itself. And yeah, it's just, I kind of wanted just to bring it into this video because it's not what you would call a typical franchise film. But I wanted to talk about it because the fact that number 3 is coming back out. I think it would have come back in the cinema if COVID hadn't have really happened. But I think because they're releasing it on Blu-ray, I think it actually comes out today, which is Monday. So I will be buying it. I might even do a review on it to see how it feels just compared to like the original one. But when you're looking at other franchises, for example, like Mission Impossible, I am so completely shocked that that movie franchise is still going. I remember when the first one came out and I was like, this is freaking amazing. I love the first one. The second one, I am not too big on. I think that's one that everyone's not extremely kind of sure about, because it has just moments of being all right. It's kind of a decent action film, but it's not it's not the best. And I think even hopefully Tom Cruise even realizes that it wasn't that good. But when you start looking from like 3 onwards, oh my god, these movies are fantastic. Number 3 is so good. It's got one of my favorite actors in it, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is no longer with us, but it was just such a great surprise of a film. And I don't know if that's really kind of horrible to say it, but I'm genuinely surprised that they're continuing this franchise and they're getting better. So that's, for me, a franchise that is continuously going, but it's not losing its touch. And I don't know if it's because of like Tom Cruise being involved, because he's someone who is known to be quite involved in like the process of the movies. He's a bit like, well, I don't think anyone's as bad as like Edward Norton, but he definitely like produces a lot of these films as well, and he definitely has a saying in a lot of these films. But yeah, I think, oh, so I'm just trying to get my lid on one of these things, especially when it comes to certain, what am I doing? I've lost my brain. But yeah, Mission Impossible, and then looking at another kind of other franchises which I'm hoping, actually, you know what, let's talk about franchises that have gone downhill. So my first one that I think is Indiana Jones. So the Crystal Skull, oh my god, I don't even know what to even kind of say about that film. I went into the cinema a long time ago, obviously, when it came out, to watch it. Really excited because I grew up watching 1, 2 and 3, just absolutely obsessed with those movies. And then Crystal Skull came out, and then I was just like, what the fuck is this? I know a lot of people like it, obviously, good for you. I'm happy that you enjoy the movie. I'm not one of those people. Honestly, I was just genuinely shocked as to why this film, well, I know why the film was made, because of the money, but honestly, you know, like a franchise that hasn't been active for a while, when you look at like Mission Impossible, that was continuously active, whereas Indiana Jones, there was a massive gap between the 3rd one and then the 4th one, and you kind of wish that they didn't that they didn't continue it. But, and they're even, what, they're going to make another one as well. I really hope not, because I don't think my heart could take it anymore. Like Harrison Ford, bless him, he is an amazing actor, but it's just, sometimes you just can tell that he doesn't really give a shit. He hasn't given a shit for a while, even in like Star Wars, even in, well, even in like A New Hope, he was just like, yeah, you better kill me off in this first one. And they're like, oh no, you're great, so we're gonna keep you. And he's just like, okay, I'll do it. Just like, do I have to do it, Mom? Do I have to be here? Whereas I think in Indiana Jones, it seemed like he was quite happy to do it, even though it wasn't very good. And another franchise I kind of feel the same is the Alien franchise. It's frustrating because 1, 2, well, Aliens are fucking amazing. Then you get to 3, which I spoke about kind of briefly in my last Makeup and Movie Monday when I spoke about 7, because it's directed by David Fincher. It's like the director's cut is so much better than the cinematic cut, because it just has a lot of stuff missing, just not really the same. But then when you get to number 4, that was terrible. I'm just gonna keep on going. And then when it comes to like Prometheus and, is it Covenant or whatever it's called, I absolutely hate those movies. Of course, every time I've gone to cinema, I've been really excited and hoping that it would be something amazing. They'd be back on form, like Ridley Scott is, you know, making the same movies again. But no. And it's so frustrating, because when I was really young and watched, you know, Alien and Aliens, they're just game changers. To have someone like Sigourney Weaver be the main, you know, the main face of, you know, the franchise, and to absolutely kill it and just be amazing, and then for it to come out like so fucking bad, I just was completely just dumbfounded. So what I wanted to kind of like reel in from this kind of video today is that franchises, oh god, where sometimes they can be pretty bad, they can have, you know, a really good effect on the cinema as a whole, because you are continuously waiting for the next one to come out. Sometimes you don't know if there is going to be another one, you don't know if, you know, the budget, or, you know, because obviously that the next movie will depend on how well the first one done, and especially when it comes to, for example, like the Hobbit movies. When Lord of the Rings came out, that was just a complete game changer, and obviously it took a while for them to even think about the Hobbit, but those movies still made a ton of money, and the franchise is going. Like, even Lord of the Rings, it had like, what, Return of the King came out god knows how many years ago, but people are still talking about it, and they're still obsessed and, you know, just in awe of this amazing franchise that we hope will never get remade. I'm just going to do my lips off camera and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I just added my lip liner and my lipstick as well, because I've been wanting to try lip liners properly for a while just to see if it brings anything. But yes, this is the end of my video. I apologize, it's been really long, but when I kind of start talking about something, I like to just go on and on and on. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please tell me what your favorite franchise is, your least favorite franchise. I mean, there's so many more franchises out there that I could have spoken about, but obviously I didn't want to just make an hour-long video, because I just, no, I can't do that. But thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, because I film and upload every time I get a chance to. And yeah, I hope you're safe, I hope you're healthy, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.